Well, so I interned at Open Sesame. I was, I think, technically a marketing intern, but obviously was involved in a wide range of activities. And through that, or through the PTIX program, went to a bunch of events and networking events and things like that, relatively similar to the ones that happened or are happening this summer. And met Joaquin from Metal Toad, and Metal Toad is where I ended up and is where I currently am. My role now is an account coordinator, so it's a client-facing position that basically involves a number of activities, a lot of which obviously revolve around clients and building relationships with clients, and whether that's communicating through email, communicating in person, attending meetings, setting up meetings, coordinating contract details. There's a lot that goes into just that side of things, and then on more of an administrative side, a lot of my position involves thinking of new ways we can improve not only our clients' experience with Metal Toad, but just the process behind the scenes, right? So day in and day out, kind of figuring out where can we make this more efficient, what can we do here to make this easier for the client or easier for us, and you know, all of that is kind of enveloped in the purpose of making the client experience better. So client services is technically the department that my role is in, and it's a pretty new department at Metal Toad, and we're just dedicated to making the client experience great. I really think that my experience at Open Sesame allowed me to see a lot of different sides of a company, and especially at Open Sesame, it's a pretty small environment, and same with here, it's a pretty small environment, and so that wide range of experience and kind of learning to interface with a bunch of different departments and a bunch of different individuals who are, you know, doing different jobs during the day, but at the end of the day have the same goal as you, was a really important part of my experience. And also just garnering the knowledge of the tech industry, I think, is really critical and was really critical for me, not coming from a tech background, and so that transferred over really well to Metal Toad. And I didn't know, you know, every single thing about Metal Toad's specific purpose before I worked here, but I did at least have an understanding of the tech industry, and especially the tech industry in Portland. Something surprising I learned at Open Sesame was probably how often there are so many different minds and hands in one project, right? And I think it's easy to look at a company or look at a department and say, oh, that's the person who runs it, or that's the person who's in charge of this. But really, at a smaller company, everyone is kind of working toward a project at any given time. And I think the surprising thing for me was how many different voices and how much input it took to finish some of these projects. And I remember we had a bunch of different projects at Open Sesame that involved sales sometimes, marketing sometimes, content teams sometimes, and watching that all come together was really cool, and it was a really awesome part of the experience, but it was something I didn't necessarily expect. And kind of in conjunction with that, I didn't expect that my experience would include so many variations and so much work in all these different departments. And then coming to Metal Toad, I think my experience is similar here, where it's been surprising and valuable to me to learn, again, how to interface with a lot of different people and a lot of different departments throughout the day. And also just realizing, I think, how much of a position is what you're able to put into it, the creative energy you can kind of invest in making it better and making the processes better behind the scenes, and also just how much perseverance it takes to keep working with a client or working through a challenge or whatever it may be. I think there's a lot of room for your own energy and kind of entrepreneurial spirit to come through. And that's been a really valuable part of my experience at Metal Toad, and not necessarily something I expected, but something I'm grateful to be experiencing. I got involved, or I got the internship at Open Sesame and started attending the PTIX events, and we were at a CEO panel, which I think happened this summer as well. And Joaquin was there, was a speaker, and really the whole time we had been focusing on networking at all these events, right? It's a really great opportunity to meet other interns and also to meet people from other companies. And I didn't really spend a lot of time with Joaquin the first time I met him, but added him on LinkedIn and we were connected. And fast forward like 8 months or something, and I was in the middle of New York City and I saw Joaquin in a coffee shop. And I thought, oh, that's Joaquin Lippincott. And just remembered him from that event and from having met him briefly and connecting with him on LinkedIn. And I went up and said, hey, you know, you're Joaquin Lippincott, right? And he said, yeah, totally, so weird. And we had this weird little moment. And then from that brief conversation, I looked at the jobs posted on the Middleton site, and the account coordinator one was there, and that's a position. Immediately I kind of thought my experience at Open Sesame and in Portland and PTIX kind of had equipped me for, and so I applied and stayed connected with Joaquin throughout, and just said, you know, hey, I'm interested and I wanna work here. And the more I got to know other people who worked here and just the Middleton culture, the more I really was drawn to it and the position itself, and then went through the interview process and got hired. I think that, you know, to get a job at the company you intern with is a matter of networking. To get a job at a company you didn't intern with is also a matter of networking, but it's kind of two different styles in my head, I guess. And one of them is just more related to being aware and almost expectant of those happenstance moments, right? So I think for me, I wasn't obviously expecting to run into Joaquin in the middle of Times Square, and nor was I expecting to run into anyone I knew there, but just being open to the fact that once you've connected with someone, if something doesn't happen right away, or if you don't have a groundbreaking conversation, you know, the second you meet them, not to give up on forming that relationship and building kind of that network as you move along. And that, to me, is really the best thing I can think of, and the best thing that helped me was, you know, envisioning networking not only as a right now process, but as a process that months down the road, even years, could have substantial benefit in the relationships that you formed and even began to form. And that I think too just goes to show, like, especially with LinkedIn and especially with the ways that we can build a network digitally as well as in person, those tools equip us to be able to interact with people, you know, months down the road, even after having had one conversation. So to me, I think that just remaining kind of vigilant in the networking process and understanding that it matters even if it doesn't seem like anything happened right in the moment, that's a critical piece. And always kind of thinking on the positive side of things. I think I'm a big fan of envisioning the successful conclusion before you even start the project, or envisioning the successful experience before it's even begun. And if you're able to envision that and hope for that and drive toward that, eventually I think some of that networking and relationship building is going to come in. Yeah, I think advice for incoming interns would be to really enjoy the program, the PTIX program overall, and just that experience, because it's so rare. And I think also to enjoy the relationships that come out of it and the way those will impact your learning as an employee and your learning as, you know, a future employee, maybe of a company you intern for, or maybe in a completely different company. But it's really important to savor that experience, because looking back, there are so many things that kind of platformed for my experience at Middleton to be able to happen that I didn't even notice were going on. And I made a few really good friends in my internship, and it was a great opportunity just to get to know people I would have never met otherwise. And so that's a big part of it too, is just enjoy those relationships and enjoy the fact that you get to be a part of something that is pretty rare for a city, especially a city like Portland, to really invest in, and pretty rare for any internship experience. My favorite part of PTIX was probably the events themselves. And I think particularly the fun ones that allowed you just to get to know the people around you and get to know fellow interns and other employees of other companies. I really loved all of the networking centered events or the information centered events, but some of my favorite moments that I can remember were the times when I got to either meet other interns or just spend more kind of quality time outside of the office or outside of an office environment with the interns I was working with. And so that was just cool for us. And then also I think right up there with that is the chance to create new projects and new videos and things like that. Like the website was a really cool project, and just as this video is a really cool project, I think those are experiences that are unique to the internship overall, because you don't always get the chance to create something new, and you're not always given the creative freedom to do so. But at Open Sesame we were, and in the PTIX program we were for sure. And that was a really, really valuable part that I still look back on. Must do for Portland would be, especially if you're not from here, I think you should for sure visit the coast. One of my favorite places in the world is the Oregon coast, and I'm not from here originally, but I know it's not really Portland, so I'll say the coast if it's like anywhere, and like go hiking on the coast, go to a really cool lighthouse, or go to the beach. But in Portland specifically, I would honestly say, well, I'm a book nerd, so go to Powell's. I mean, go to Powell's and like spend 6 hours there. I'm a super big book nerd, so that's where I'd go for like a Saturday if I had nothing to do and just look around. It's super, it's promoted as like this big tourist attraction, and it, you know, a lot of people go there who are visiting Portland, but it's actually, in my opinion, one of the best bookstores in the world, or maybe the best. Personally, I think that, but it's great. It's great. You should go there, buy a few books, read a few books. I love it.